didn't think we were going to get another episode, but we have. It's the Jason Young Show, but now it's the Jason Young News Show because we got sued last time for that. However, today we've got social action. That's a cool topic, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really cool.
I'm so happy that we did this by choice. Now, if you don't know what social action is, social action can be different to issues that the issues to the attention of the public. Whoever wrote my cue cards cannot use grammar. A social action tries to get the public involved by telling people how to change it. An example of this would be the Henley 2012 video. I'm damn sure everyone has seen.
I've seen that one.
Social actions are quick to rally huge amounts of support to change the opinions of people. Documentaries which have political motives will try to change representatives of other candidates. So a good example of this would be like the Hillary versus Trump.
Yeah, and the propaganda battle they had.
Yeah, so they kind of just slander each other constantly.
Yeah. In order to like
normally you're not allowed to lie, but this election year apparently you can lie flat out. So
there it is. You heard it here first.
Social action political campaigns change the audience's voting behaviour. This is very, very proven by manipulating the audience and their views by showing them only the way the party wants them to see. So basically, pro-Hillary adverts will basically make Hillary seem out to be the best person ever and right for the
and
job.
Donald Trump the worst.
Exactly.
By showing them all the bad things he said. But in reality, they're probably just manipulating as well.
And both bad as each other.
Exactly.
Political campaigns are a form of social action. They are trying to convince the audience that they are better than the other candidates. I don't know why that cucumber was in there, the same as the last one.
There it is.
Social actions try to build a relationship with the subjects by telling a story and trying to make everything relatable from the audience. Didn't know that one. Social actions bring a community together. This is achieved by finding a common issue which a lot of people can rally behind. Which that's also true, but also social actions can make people rally behind an issue that doesn't even affect them. Very similar to the Coney 2012 one. Social actions will always contain information. As for them to be believable, it needs to be informed. They will use information the audience doesn't know, so it's hard hitting. So
that's a shock factor.
It's a shock factor, exactly.
There it is.
Still going. Social action is more easily accessible for non-traditional groups. To make a social action, you don't need a huge amount of money anymore or manpower. Instead, videos can be shared instantly for free on the internet, on sites like Facebook and YouTube, something that you couldn't do 20 years ago.
It's changed the game completely, I think.
Completely. It gives the public a bit more of a voice, wouldn't you say?
Exactly.
Social actions raise awareness by showing the public issues that have not been brought to light yet. So a good example is the Blackfish documentary that we'll be talking about in a minute, that tells the story of Tillicum and how Tillicum is basically treated like utter crap and it's unfair.
That's it.
Social actions can change public's attitudes towards a subject by showing people the subject from a different perspective, which is something that we will very much so get into in a moment. And lastly and not least, social actions can infiltrate mainstream media if enough people share the news and pick it up. And even large broadcasting services which could air it on the channel. So things like the Blackfish documentary got so huge that it was mentioned on the news and other
got lots of global
traditional
coverage.
media platforms. Thank God we can get off of that, but luckily today we are joined by an expert on the Blackfish documentary and an expert on the secret life of sex workers in Brazil. Matthew Brenzer, Secret Life of Sex Workers, Jack Smith, Blackfish.
Thank you.
Now, would you please like to tell us about the multiple issues raised in Blackfish?
Alright, so in Blackfish we follow Tillicum, he's a killer whale locked up in SeaWorld, he was captured when he was very young, and he was brought up in a killer whale where they would train them. I think it was in Iceland or something, and they'd train them up, and he was sent to SeaWorld when he was quite young, but he's the largest orca in captivity. And basically the documentary says how these highly intelligent animals are kept in basically fish tanks, and it's not good for their mental health. So yeah.
So what type of action is this?
Basically the action is trying to get SeaWorld to release their orcas to the wild again. But obviously that's a very hard action to achieve. So what the documentary producers are trying to do is they're trying to get the public involved and to rally behind a cause, which is to get them out of SeaWorld. So they're trying to put external pressure on SeaWorld.
Would you say it's
through the
quite a
documentary.
complicated situation?
It is a very complicated situation. She's also calling upon the board of directors of SeaWorld in the production to try and guilt trip them into actually making an action happen, trying to help them to understand what they've done wrong.
So do you personally feel like there's a huge need for an action?
Personally, I feel like there is a need for action because killer whales are known to be highly developed, intelligent animals, and they are able to feel emotions that some animals are not able to feel, such as loneliness, which I think is pretty messed up.
Something that humans also feel.
Mm.
What about you, Matthew? Do you feel like action needs to be taken?
Oh, definitely. Like, I think, and besides the fact that they actually share emotion, I don't think any animal should be treated the way those animals are specifically. They're tortured basically, and I think they're taken away from their mothers at a younger age. They're pretty much manipulated and thinking a certain way. It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
disgusting.
It's pretty hard as well to make the change because SeaWorld is such a huge corporation that obviously it's going to be hard to actually affect what they do legally because what they're doing is legally okay.
Yeah.
So obviously it's going to be hard to actually make anything happen, but with enough external
So this
pressure,
type of change would have to be on a national scale.
it would be on an international scale. I would
International
say.
scale. Wow.
Which you can see because the documentary, it was released internationally on Netflix and it has actually got worldwide coverage.
So yeah, definitely not a local one.
Yeah.
So the Gore documentary is basically getting to release all that.
It's to raise awareness about what SeaWorld is doing.
Yes.
Just to raise awareness about the cruelty and stuff. And the documentary also tried to get a hashtag trending on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to use social media to make the documentary much
Do you
wider.
think this social action, if it 100% worked, would it strengthen the? Would it be something of beneficial?
If it was a success?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if it is completely successful, then the killer whales will be released into the wild. The documentary is just trying to change, how SeaWorld is represented by the public. Because before the documentary was aired, there was obviously had a bit of a small reputation for being quite cruel, but it was more
A lot of people.
a lot of people very blind, and a lot of people just thought it was family fun basically, SeaWorld entertainment. But with the documentary, I think it's opened a lot of people's eyes, and you can see that in the numbers that SeaWorld are actually losing a lot of money where they were making way more before it was aired. Yeah.
Well, going from orcas, we now go to the sex lives of prostitutes in Brazil.
Hang on.
Oh,
There's more points we have to make
What other
to
points?
be successful in this news.
What other
podcast.
points? I feel like I've gone over everything.
Basically,
Please.
Blackfish is also trying to build a relationship with its audience. Okay, it's doing
I
this
think
by
we covered that, but you can continue.
it's doing this by trying to humanize the Tilikum. They're trying to make him seem more human to us, so it's more relatable. So we feel more compelled by the story and more sorry for Tilikum. And the good that would have come from the action would have been the cruelty at SeaWorld will have stopped. And the techniques that the director has used in the production, such as experts, because that's keeping the audience well informed, and it makes it more believable. And the video is effective because it has done exactly what it set out to do, which is to raise awareness against SeaWorld. Because they've invoked sadness and anger in the audience, which gives them a cause to rally behind. So, yeah.
No, I don't know much about the sex lives of orcas, but from Matt's documentary, I do know a lot about the sex lives of Brazilian sex workers.
Sex workers.
Matt, what are the issues coming with Brazilian sex workers?
That's true. I actually. Okay.
So first of all, this is a BBC documentary from Stacey Dooley, famous, and so it's in Rio de Janeiro. Is a huge issue. Women, but mainly transgender women, literally have no other option but to pretty much go into prostitution. They don't. They're not, especially transgender women. Transgender women can't actually. There's very few jobs they're actually accepted in, so it's literally the only thing they can do. So the documentary mainly follows a transgender woman called Barbara, and you see Barbara. She's actually the first ever transgender woman ever to lead the Rio Carnival. But unfortunately, the only way she can support her grandmother is by going into prostitution. And through the documentary, you get you see other prostitutes, transgender and just regular women, and then you also see men talking about their experiences, which is quite disgusting. Like they don't actually seem like they're speaking to them like as actual people, more like objects.
So what kind of action is this?
So I think what people are trying to do is trying to, I would say, raise awareness, but also change attitudes, but not put prostitution in positive light, but see that show these people as people, not as their profession. Show these people that these people aren't doing this because it's easy money. They have to do this. This is the only way they can actually survive.
Did it make you personally think of prostitution as a different? Did it change your mind to how you presume prostitution?
It definitely did, because I've always thought, like, my immediate think of prostitution is that these women are just doing it for easy money. They're like, they don't have any respect for themselves. But I saw this and I just like thinking, you can see the people, you see they're actually really genuine people, and they literally have no choice in it. It does invoke a lot of sadness, and I think that's how the audience does feel towards it.
Would you say that this is national, local, or international, like scale documentary that is trying to?
So I think it's international. I think Rio's probably the worst case of it. But there are
things like that happen all over the world.
Yeah, all over the world. There's like Amsterdam. You've got that. There's all different countries, but so I think it's definitely international.
Has this changed your opinion on the legality of prostitution? Because I know a lot of people have different opinions on whether prostitution could the world benefit if prostitution was made legal and done as like a professional type of business, instead of it being something that you have to go and get a pimp for.
Me personally, I think I don't actually see the issue with it becoming legal. Like, if someone...
people are going to do it anyway.
Yeah, people are going to do it anyway, and...
You could regulate and make it safer.
Yeah, you can make it safer. The prostitutes, for one, will be a lot more safer doing this. Because in Brazil, like they have to rent out flats from different people, and it can be really dodgy doing that kind of stuff, because literally anyone can be in there, and it's not safe for anyone. So I don't see, if someone wants to pay for that service, then
if someone wants to give that service some money,
exactly.
What's the issue?
Did you say that the documentary is a campaign? Like, is it trying to campaign for something?
Yeah, does it take a stance of pro-prostitution, or does it take a stance of native prostitution, or is it just giving you the facts?
I wouldn't say it is trying to legalise prostitution. I think it's just trying to make people aware that women in Brazil should be able to be offered, especially transgender women, should be able to have the same rights as any other one.
Does the documentary also try and build... Do the characters in the documentary, like the people?
Yeah.
Do you see a progression? Yeah. Do they try and build a relationship with?
Oh yeah, definitely. So Barbara is the main one you follow, who's a transgender woman, and you could even see as Stacey Dooley. She speaks really fondly of her. Says she actually made a really great friend out in Brazil from her. You see, she is a talented dancer. She's head of the Rio Carnival, and you actually see like characteristics which you would never really associate with a prostitute.
Has any good come from the documentary, do you think?
Oh, please, Chad. It's my show.
Oh, dude. Leave it out. I'm asking the questions.
No.
The
Stop.
questions that matter.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't think any changes significantly would come from Brazil, but I think it's obviously seen an audience mindset has pretty much changed from it, but I really strongly doubt that any changes have been made in Brazil.
Yes. So is it quite a complicated situation then?
Yeah, it is a complicated situation because women's rights is something that even England has, the UK suffered with a long time ago, and it took a very long time. And Brazil's basically a third world country, and it's very far off what the UK is, and it's going to take a lot of time.
So you believe there's a huge need for action?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
Is there any techniques the directors used?
So are there techniques that the directors use that you were quite fond of when watching the documentary?
What I quite liked about it was they always showed Stacey around Barbara or other prostitutes, but they were doing it in a very social way, like they're having drinks, or they were actually like going out to like
So they were like
bars
trying to
together.
build a relationship almost.
Yeah, going to bars with each other, and I think that was really good because you created like a social kind of atmosphere for the people in the documentary. So it made people sympathise with them and kind of realise that these people aren't defined by their profession, but like they have to do that. But
would you say that the documentary proves or disproves stereotypes associated with prostitution?
yeah, I think
especially
definitely disproves stereotypes.
So would you say, does this documentary try to strengthen the community of Rio de Janeiro, or does it just try and highlight what the issues going on?
I think it's mainly to highlight, to be honest.
And as you said, when replying to Jack's question, not really a campaign. What kind of relationship does this build with the audience? Does this documentary build with the audience? Is it one of fondness or one of disgust to the issue?
Yeah, I think it's got to be discussed because these people literally have no other options. If you hear the men who talk about these prostitutes, they're like literally talking like they're a piece of meat to the girls. The people have no other option because like they don't get accepted. Like for instance, for a good example, when Barbara asked one of her friends if she could work at a school as a cleaner, and the guy just straight up laughed at her face and said, "You can't do that."
Wow.
Yeah, and she was friends with her.
Do you think that the video and the documentary is effective?
Yeah, definitely. So, because what's great, I think is great about it is the start of the documentary. You've got it's showing like the lights of like the Rio Carnival, where everyone dancing, having a good time. But then it very quickly like you really see like the gritty, dark parts, which is the prostitution, which these people actually have to do. Like it's all fun and games when they're like actually doing stuff they like, but then when they're not doing that, it's where it gets really dark.
Before we move on to the next segment, may I check the camera?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. It's looking good. Keep it up, guys. Okay. Master Young.
Right. So we've talked about Blackfish. We've talked about the secret lives of sex workers in Rio de Janeiro.
That we have.
Now, we go to a brand new documentary that has been created by all three of us here. The documentary is titled The Gypsy Problem. Now, this is a social action campaign documentary that highlights the issues surrounding travellers and gypsies and the community surrounding them in the Berkshire Borough district, specifically Wokingham Town. Now, I would like for you guys to explain what issues are being raised in this documentary, do you think?
The issues being raised is basically trying to help change the perspective of how the public actually looks at gypsies in the Wokingham area, because they have actually a very negative reputation. when really they're not actually doing much wrong. So yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, as a person who's also featured on this, and as someone who lives and works in town, I have my own perspective, I have my own views, my own opinions on the issue that is travellers and community in Woking. Now, I would say these issues are very, very much so based on disputes over land, the lifestyle, how it can fit in with modern society, because it is quite different. It is quite something that most people don't get a look into how they live and how they interact with one another. And I think you would all agree with me when I say it's a social action.
It is.
Trying to change the opinion and maybe show, each side of the argument from one of Gypsy's perspective and one from another. I think you all guys would agree with me that it's quite a complicated situation. It's not something that has an easy resolution.
I would agree.
Anything more you would like to elaborate on that?
I don't think it is an easy solution because they're always going to be there. But I think the best thing you can do is try and get along with them. And I think that's what we're going to try and do here, is try and help to create a compromise with the people that don't want them there and the actual gypsies themselves.
So would you say there's a big need for this action?
I'd
yes.
say it's just like it happens all over the UK. A lot of people, it's a controversial thing, but we see the sides of the gypsies, in my opinion. Like, they're not doing, in my opinion, I haven't had any trouble. Like, I live very close, I live in a Maidenhead where there's quite a few gypsies, and it's not really an issue, but you've got to see from both sides, really. What
of course there's going to be, like a minority that's gonna cause trouble, but that's with everything. Like, you get normal people that just cause trouble.
But I think we can all say that with gypsy and traveller communities, it's quite a big minority. It's not we're not saying that every single gypsy is out there to cause trouble. However, we are saying that it's quite a big minority, and it's quite a big problem because you can go around and ask practically anyone, have you had a bad experience? And I would probably say around 1 out of 3 people have had a bad experience or heard of a bad experience that they've had or their families had with travellers and gypsies. So this change would be mostly local. Do you know any other places in the world that have a problem with gypsies and travellers?
I think all over the country right now, and there's quite a gypsy problem, if you want to call it that.
So what would you say our goal of the documentary is?
I think our goal is mainly to highlight the side of the gypsies, to see what they think that they could do as alternatives to just like staying where they are, or what they're doing to actually earn a living.
Because a big problem of it is that they pitch up and make their small communities in land they do not own, and land owned by the borough council, things like public fields, and that can be an issue for people who are like dog walkers or people who live nearby and didn't expect them to have so many neighbours so quickly. So do you think this documentary could strengthen the community? Do you think it could have a good impact?
I think it could. I think it could bring people together, rather than I think it could bring gypsies and people together. They're like
The two communities.
Yeah, the two communities of people.
So So would you say the documentary is trying to build a relationship between the two communities in a positive way?
Yeah.
And a way that could probably mean compromise. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, what good are you thinking? Are you hoping to come out with the documentary, guys? What good?
I think mainly I want a reaction from the audience, which will be like quite positive, to think that these people are doing this not to cause trouble, but because they do this in their way of living. And I hope that gypsies can also look at this and be like, yeah, like that is our lives, and they should be kind of more like happy to realise that people do see this as an issue.
Yeah, it's done out of care. It's not something done out of complete spite most of the time. I can speak for the documentary as one of the 3 directors, that we're trying to take a very serious tone in the documentary, not trying to make it a laughing matter, using techniques such as tracking shots, ambient sounds, graphics, and interviews with gypsies and people who live in and have issues with gypsies. We want to show all sides of the argument. and we're trying to I would think you guys would agree with me that we're very much so trying to provoke emotion. You know,
I'd say so.
provoke emotion by seeing the lifestyle of travellers and the anguish caused by the feuds in between the community. So this documentary is coming out when? It's coming out relatively soon. I think it's
Soon to a cinema near you.
soon to a probably not cinema. We don't have that much of a reach, but you know, soon to your computer screen.
There it is.
Quite soon.
YouTube.com.
YouTube will definitely be on YouTube. Will be, and I hope you do give it a watch. It's going to be a fun
It'll be a
documentary
great
to
one.
make.
It should be a great one.
Gypsy or not gypsy, give it a watch. So that's been the Jason Young news show for today, talking about social action and the Gypsy documentary, Sex Lives of Brazilian Prostitutes and
Blackfish.
Blackfish.
That's
Thank
me.
you very much for watching.
I've been Jack Smith, and I'm signing out.
Matt Brienza, Jason Young. Good night.